So let me tell you a little bit about Hemalata, a dual master's degree holder in organizational and counseling psychology. Hemalata is a psychologist and creative art therapist who practices in Chennai, India. Being from a dance and theater background, she has always been passionate about art and its ability to connect to the deeper conscious. She's an award-winning theater performer and playwright, performing in national and international theater festivals. Her visual poetry has been published in the IATA newsletter regularly. More on her work and paper presentations available on her website or the number within.com. So she's going to present to us today the landscape of the soul connecting to the nature archetype. But let me just share briefly what she's going to have to say for us. India, a land where man rose with the sun, set out to till his land, and returned with the setting of the sun. The day was spent sowing, caring for, and nurturing the crops. It was believed that as one cared for the land, one cared for oneself. Agriculture was the main source of livelihood for Indians till a few decades ago. With industrialization and capitalism, the amount of time one spent on one's land became lesser and lesser. As we lost touch with our land, we lost touch with ourselves, our souls. My ancestors had lands that they had cared for and tended to. The land was worshipped as divine, and rituals were conducted to honor the earth. These invocations were meant to make the individual a reflection of the myriad enduring relationships of the landscape. Since industrialization in the 1940s in India, the last 4 generations have lost their connection to the land, nature, and our soul. In this paper, she'll share her conversations with nature and how it helped her understand herself better. Jung emphasizes on the need to engage with the parts that emerge from the unconscious by playing with imagination. John talks about the experience of being touched by the soul of an animal or the soul of the earth as being united with the deepest part of the collective unconscious. He says that one must see what the underlying trend is, what the will of God is. End of quote. So if one wanted to analyze what an image meant to them personally, one would have to analyze, engage, and form a relationship with that image. The archetypal image of a bed of grass and what it helped me learn about my unconscious. Her unconscious is the crux of this presentation. All right, welcome.
Thank you, Adrian, for that wonderful introduction. And I'm so happy to be here to present my work, which came together in Professor Craig's class in the fall of 2022, when I was taking his class on Jung and nature. I could put together several sketches that I had made over 2 years, and it helped me understand and create a narrative of personal growth as I reflected on these sketches. So I'm really happy to share that today, and I'll begin with sharing screen. I hope you can see the full slide. Okay. The landscape of the soul connecting to the nature archetype through art. It's my privilege to present this today as I put it together in Professor Craig's class in the fall of 2022. Nature must not win the game, but cannot lose. This quote by Swiss psychologist Carl Jung highlights the idea that while humanity may strive to control and dominate nature, ultimately nature will always prevail. He believed that this was an important reminder for individuals to connect with the natural world and respect its power. He also recognized the importance of nature as a source of inspiration and healing for the human psyche, and believed that spending time in nature and connecting with the natural world could help individuals find a sense of peace and harmony within themselves. Nature can be a source of beauty and wonder, which can stimulate our imagination and help us create music, art, and literature. Connecting and reflecting on the nature archetype can be a powerful way to tap into the natural world's wisdom and beauty, leading to increased well-being and creativity. It is not uncommon for humans to find patterns in nature, as we are naturally drawn to the beauty and complexity of the natural world. Archetypes, on the other hand, refer to universal symbols and patterns that are present in the collective unconscious of humans, as described by Hume. The nature archetype, in particular, represents our connection to the natural world and our primal instincts. In his writings, Hume often used natural symbols and motifs to illustrate psychological concepts and ideas. Overall, Hume saw nature as a powerful force that could both challenge and inspire the human psyche, and he believed that it was essential for individuals to cultivate a relationship with the natural world. If one's images are evocative of the nature archetype, it could mean that they tap into this deep-seated human connection to the natural world. In the psychology of Carl Jung, the psyche is composed of the conscious mind, the personal unconscious, and the collective unconscious. The collective unconscious is a theoretical construct that includes the universal patterns, symbols, and archetypes that are shared by all humans across cultures and time periods. One of these archetypes is the nature archetype, which represents our connection to the natural world and our primal instincts. According to Hume, the psyche is connected to the nature archetype through the collective unconscious. This means that the nature archetype is a part of the collective heritage of all humans, and that it is present in the unconscious mind of every person. Hume believed that the nature archetype could have a profound influence on the individual psyche, affecting everything from our moods and emotions to our thoughts and behaviors. By connecting with the nature archetype, individuals may be able to tap into this powerful source of wisdom and insight, leading to greater self-awareness and personal growth. Overall, the nature archetype is an important aspect of the collective unconscious, and connecting with it can have profound effects on the individual psyche. In this paper, I would like to share how creating the recurring image of the nature archetype through art has helped me feel grounded and centered by reminding me of my connection to the natural world. This was especially helpful in times of stress or uncertainty, as it provided a sense of stability and perspective. In my homeland, India, we believe that as one cares for the land, one cares for oneself. We worship the land as divine, and rituals were conducted to honor the earth. Until a few decades ago, agriculture had been the main source of livelihood for Indians. With industrialization, the amount of time we spent on the land decreased. I sincerely thank Alpika Kumar and Tushya, who gave us a detailed account of this phenomena in their presentation last evening in panel 2. Farming and growing one's food began to be considered a lesser job, while sitting in cubicles came to be seen as more important and futuristic. As we lost touch with our land, we lost touch with ourselves, our spirit. I have grown up at a time in India where people have forgotten their connection to the land. With industrialization, generations have lost this connection to their nature and soul. Agriculture is predominantly practiced only in the rural areas, and technology keeps the urban dwellers busy. As we progress, ignoring the need for deep emotional bonds with the environment, there is a growing awareness that not all is well with the earth and its urbanized dwellers who began to experience an environmental despair. This is a word that was coined for this destructive loop of alienation by Buddhist and systems theorist Joanna Macy. I live in this urban India, built of narrow lanes, clustered houses, hardworking people who have no time to look outside the window and soak in the sun. In this presentation, I'd like to share a story in pictures. These pictures are sketches made by me at different points of time from 2020, and that came together in Professor Craig's class. They speak of the soul's journey as it connects to the nature archetype. Meaning making in research has predominantly been through what people say or what people do. Hence, most researchers' observations are based on words. However, people do not make meaning only in words. Arts have been a very important tool of expression and meaning making since centuries. In the new millennium, the importance of arts-based research is gaining momentum, and researchers have begun to use this in their research at different stages or as the primary methodology. Nature-based expressive arts is the use of nature in making works of art that enable one to express oneself. One valuable technique of nature-based expressive arts is the use of metaphors drawn from nature. Using metaphor as it connects with the natural world is both a nature-based practice as well as an expressive arts practice. Peter Hoover, student of ACTS, mentioned earlier in the symposium last evening about the ability of art to make us pause and reflect. Reflecting on an image through art has been a powerful way to explore my thoughts and emotions. There are many ways to use art to reflect on an image. One approach is to create a painting or drawing that captures the essence of the image. This could involve exploring the colors, the texture, the shape of the image, as well as any emotions or feelings that it evokes. One could also experiment with different styles or techniques to create a unique and personal interpretation of the image. The story begins with this image that came up for me sometime during COVID when the world was experiencing isolation. This image is the pain and sorrow that I experienced in my body as I heard stories of my clients and stories from around the world, and also experienced some personal stories of illness and uncertainties. There were a lot of responsibilities, and I had been just running from one task to another without paying heed to what my body was feeling till this image asked to be sketched. This image helped me to connect with what I was feeling deep within. Words that I associated to this image are disconnection, sorrow, and a heavy heart. In this image, I cannot experience outdoors, and that makes me shrivel within. Slowly, my resources to keep myself nourished are running out, and I become a bundle rolling away from one task to another, from one client to another. There are no hand, feet, body, or heart. Everything is lost in this rolling. Reflecting on the similarity of colors used in image one, like if you can see in the heart region, a lot of green and yellow that's used in the first image, and the same yellow and green it seems like a zoomed in, to me, it seems like a zoom into the heart image. It appears that deep within the heart, there is a seed that is waiting for the right conditions to sprout and grow. There is a deep layer to the human psyche that is waiting to be discovered and nurtured. In the psychology of Hume, this seed of potential might be thought of as the individual's unique purpose or destiny, which is embedded within the collective unconscious. Hume believed that each person has a unique path to follow, and this path is often revealed through dreams, symbols, and other forms of unconscious communication. To discover and nurture this need of potential, individuals may need to engage in self-reflection, introspection, and personal growth. By going deeper into the heart and connecting with this seed of potential, I have been able to find greater meaning and purpose in my life. The nature archetype that has been recurring for me is a bed of grass. Archetypes are typical ways of perceiving the world and responding to it, typical forms of feelings, ideas, attitudes, and tendencies to produce certain types of images. What does this landscape want to convey to me? As I ask myself this question, I'm challenged by Leslie to rethink the use of the word landscape. She contends in her chapter, Landscape History and Pablo Imagination, that the word landscape, as used in English, is misleading. It gives us the impression that humans are viewing a scape from the outside. That does not describe the relationship we have with our surrounding. Hence, I'd like to ask myself, what is the spirit I share with this bed of grass? At first, I do not understand it, as I see it as different from me. I see it outside myself. We are all part of the mother. Parallel to Wincott's notion that there is no baby without the mother is the reality that there is no person without the earth. A rock, animals, sand, clay, humans, all of us have a spirit. The spirit may differ in each one of us, yet we all emerge from the depths of the earth, which is our connection. Hume emphasizes on the need to engage with the parts that emerge from the unconscious by playing with imagination. He talks about the experience of being touched by the soul of an animal or the soul of the earth as being united with the deepest part of our collective unconscious. How can my human mind make meaning of how this bed of grass is related to my current life? Hume here cautions us to remember that nature is inhuman and needs a human mind to navigate and understand its relevance to the self. So if one wanted to analyze what an image meant to them personally, one would have to analyze, engage, and form a relationship with that image. How can I step into this landscape? Or how can this landscape become a part of me? So I am not the viewer and it is not the viewed. As I ask myself this question, I'm reminded of the imaginary game that Hume played while seated on a stone. He asked himself if he was sitting on the stone and imagined what if the stone had a response too. Hume would not have engaged in this imaginary game if he had not believed the stone to have a spirit. Through this process, he established that every stone, rock, and animal on this earth is connected to each other. So am I the viewer or am I being viewed? Every landscape has a soul, a particular character. What impression does one get of the total landscape? Does it feel dry and barren, rugged and challenging, or lush and nurturing? One then analyzes the individual elements. My bed of grass felt soft and satin-like. It felt like it could hold me and relax every muscle in my body, but I hesitate to fall into it. I close my eyes and imagine the bed of grass in my body. It takes up space in the lower half of my body, my legs. They are exhausted. They carry the burden of appearing strong all the time and ache to relax. I let the image guide me further. Eventually, the ball unfolds and takes shape. Landscapes appear in the body. There are mountains that emerge on the bed of grass. There appears a waterfall that flows down the mountains to nourish the grasslands, and in the center appears a trident. The trident felt strong and supportive as the ball took shape. Arising from the gut, it traveled to the chest. I heard the bed of grass whisper, I appear soft and tender, but I can hold mountains and carry waterfalls. If we analyze the mountains as a symbol of masculine and the waterfalls as the symbol of feminine, the bed of grass seemed capable and ready to hold both these energies. The trident being the symbol of Shiva and Shakti, the embodiment of the masculine and the feminine. It was time to see who I could be if I allowed myself to make space for this bed of grass. I see this bed of grass as an archetype of strength, peace, belonging, and beauty. By beauty, we do not mean beautifying adornments, decorations. It is the way in which gods touch our senses, reach the heart, and attract us into life. This bed of grass was calling out to me to be alive again. I was living in denial, convincing myself that I needed to be stiff and rigid to keep the work going. I was tapping into my masculine energy and denying myself the experience of the feminine. My legs had turned to concrete, just like the homes we live in. I began to eventually understand how the bed of grass was viewing me. It said, "You're becoming concrete, like cement-like, in your run to fulfill your responsibilities." For the sake of mental stability and even physiological health, the unconscious and the conscious must be integrated and thus move on parallel lines. If they are split apart or disassociated, psychological disturbance follows. I desired to embrace the masculine and the feminine. The grass has traveled to the upper parts of my...
Sorry, just 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, John, then I'm done. The grass has traveled to the upper parts of my body and my chest. The arms turn green, probably symbolic of green hands that seek to nurture and care for the earth that cares for us. The clouds in the background imply that the universe is willing to nourish the body and keep it alive. The image has elements of water and soil that emerge as symbols of masculine and feminine energies that are important resources for the grass to grow and branch out into this world. The archetype of nature is often associated with the feminine energy, which is nurturing, receptive, and intuitive. In contrast, the masculine energy is often associated with strength, action, and logic. By connecting with the nature archetype through art, I have gained a great appreciation for the feminine energy and its importance in achieving balance in life. This helped me recognize the need to be receptive and intuitive in certain situations rather than always relying on action and logic. Additionally, exploring the nature archetype through art helped me tap into my own creativity and intuition, which helped me find new and innovative solutions to problems. Overall, connecting with the nature archetype through art can be a transformative experience that helps us find balance and harmony in our lives by recognizing and honoring both our masculine and feminine energies. Today, as I was making this presentation, I would like to go back to image 2 and say that this image appeared to resemble the trapped masculine and feminine energy. And this is how the process of reflection through art occurs in me. It is dynamic, and there is always a new understanding, a new meaning that arises every time I pause and reflect on the art. I'd like to go back to where I left. Jung speaks of nature as an inner guide that comes when we connect to the earth. I'm glad that the archetypal pattern of the bed of grass guided me in understanding patterns within me. Hereon, I believe that caring for the land will connect me more to myself and to people who cared for the land before me, my ancestors. In this image, the eyes do not shed tears anymore. They watch over me as I connect to nature, to my soul, and the soul of the universe. I hope my presentation has in some way answered Peter Hoover's question that he put across in his presentation in I think last evening, sorry for the time zone difference, on how we can take care of the earth that takes care of us. That was his question. Like, how can we take care of the earth that takes care of us? And I felt that we can do that by listening to it. The way most of the presentations today have woven into each other by focusing on mind-body integration, integration with nature, or integration with the divine, have surprised me. I thank the department for creating this platform for exchange of ideas that has enriched my understanding of my topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done. That's wonderful. Hemlata, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing your art. It tends to be something, very intimate, and I love how you amplified that and shared it with us.